I'm here with Jamison Hill, right-handed pitcher, Arizona Diamondbacks organization, getting ready for Double-A ball. You got a taste of it last year with the Amarillo Sod Poodles, and we were talking a little bit off camera. Just having a good off season. First off, before we even get into all that, just you want to tell people a little bit about how you ended up here with the Diamondbacks.
All right, yeah. Jamison Hill from San Diego, California. Went to Fresno State, played baseball. Was there for 4 years. And then after my senior year wasn't sure if I was going to go back to Fresno, wasn't sure if I wanted to try and play professional baseball. Certain things didn't happen the way I wanted to, ended up not getting drafted and, getting opportunity for the Diamondbacks to call my agent and say, hey, does he want a chance? Does he want to play? And I kind of took that as my moment, as like, okay, this is time. It's something I dreamed about doing. So, just had to get it done. Yeah.
So we were just talking too, obviously there's tons of stories of this, but it was also a weird year not getting drafted because it was the COVID year. You played your last game without knowing it was going to be your last game, actually against ASU.
Yeah.
This is the last time that you and your team played at Fresno. So what was it like navigating that, knowing like, okay, I'm not drafted, I do get this call, but also realizing, okay, the reasoning is something that's out of my control. Like, what was that like for you?
It was a little tough at first because, that was always a dream of mine, was to get drafted. Obviously, the end goal is you want to play on the big field in front of all the people in the big leagues. But, that's the first step is, I want to play on my varsity team for high school. I want to go play baseball in college. I want to get drafted. And I want to play pro ball, and then I want to make the big leagues. So, it hurt that I didn't get to check that off the box, but at the end of the day, I'm still able to do what I wanted to do and get an opportunity to chase the actual dream, the big dream that I wanted to chase. So that's been nice, but it's nice also as well because it gives me a little chip on my shoulder. I always feel like I have to prove myself a little more, even though that may not be the case in their eyes, but in my eyes, that's kind of what I do to keep myself on top of my game and, not let days off and keep going. Yeah.
I think that brings me into kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to talk today. I can tell you are really, at your age, 24 years old, just turned 24, right?
Yeah.
Happy late birthday, by
Appreciate
the way.
Thank you.
At your age, though, you seem to be figuring out maybe the mental side of the game a lot earlier than guys that I've seen and talked with in the big leagues where, I see you posting things about self-care. There's that, quotes on walls thing. I started reposting now. I saw that from you first. So do you think that led you to start really learning more in the mental game, or has that always been a part of it for you?
1,000% it helped me. I can tell you firsthand, the mental side of the game was tough for me, especially in college, just because going back to that dream of getting drafted, I felt like, every bad pitch I made or every bad outing I had was just dropping down my stock. And I took that to heart, and it just built in my head, and it didn't benefit me. I would take starts that were, 2 weeks ago into a start upcoming, and, it made me go good for a while, and then I think about something that happened, like, oh, this situation happened last week, and I didn't get out of it. That builds. And then at the end of a season, after 10, 12 starts, you're not looking at a very good season. And so it also, what also helped me was the idea of I almost wasn't going to play baseball again. Like, if they didn't call me and ask if I wanted to sign, that possibility of me not playing, it was a real big possibility. Like, that was something that was constantly going through my head, like, wow, I might have just played my last baseball game ever. But when they gave me the opportunity, it made me kind of rewire myself a little bit, realizing that A, I'm getting the opportunity, B, there's so many other things that go outside of baseball that matter more than baseball. Not to say that baseball doesn't matter, because that's what I'm good at. It makes people happy. People want to come out and watch us perform and watch us do things that, they enjoy seeing. And realizing that, it's bigger than baseball. Like, my outings don't define who I am. on and off the field. Obviously, I'm not just going to be happy with, a bad outing. I want to go out there and be the best I can be and, be better than everyone else. But at the same time, I think once you realize that, these things are minuscule and really what we got going on, it makes the game a lot easier. If I go out and have a bad outing, give up, let's say I go 5 innings, give up 6 runs, like it's an okay outing, I guess, but not a very good one. If I hold on to that and let that eat me inside and be like, wow, what am I doing? Like, what did I do wrong? This, that, and the other. That's going to build. Like I brought back to you earlier, that's going to build through, especially 152 games minor league season. Like that's going to build on top of each other. If you can just learn to just take a game how it is, whether it's good or bad, you can flush it after a bad start. You can flush it after a good start. It makes things so much easier. It frees your mind. And you can go out there and just play baseball.
It's not normal to have that at this age. I mean, it's something I've been told. Obviously, I'm no longer a baseball player, but just in this life space of kind of figuring out the mental of, okay, I'm not who I am. So yes, I'm a journalist. That doesn't make me who I am. That's not the definition of me. There's so much more. Same with you. I'm a baseball player. It can be very easy to define yourself with that, but you realize that's more. So obviously the lessons, not sure how it's going to go after college when the draft is shorter, your season was cut so short, your final year, no idea it was going to be your last game, thought maybe it could be after it all happened. Was there a particular moment that really hammered that into you that, okay, I needed to change the way that I approach the game, I needed to change the way that I approach my life balance? Was there a certain moment, person, video you watched, or was it just over time you started picking up on it?
It was definitely a collection of things. I mean, honestly, the second it went in my head that I'm not going to get drafted and, the only chance I have to play professional baseball is to sign a free agent contract. And I mean, not necessarily just baseball, if you follow any sports, you don't hear a lot of free agents making it to the top levels anyway. So that was, one thing I had to think about, kind of process, realize, okay, I'm going to have to work a lot harder than I ever have. I'm going to have to, prove myself to people a little extra. I'm just going to, but at the same time, not want to change who I am. I still want to be the same person. I like to smile, I like to have fun, I like to do all these things, but I want to go out there and perform as well. So, but I mean, to go back to your question, it was definitely just that moment of realizing, wow, I could be done. So it forced me to give everything I have into the game, but also realizing that, me giving everything I have into this game doesn't mean that outside of baseball, I can't do what I want, make people happy, be a good human, be a good husband, be a good brother, sister, son, you know what I'm saying? So just all of those things. But
on top of that too, your Instagram bio, I see you have the suicide prevention hotline number. What's the reasoning behind that? Did you lose somebody? Was it a struggle for you?
No, it was a pretty big struggle for me. I dealt with, especially in college, I dealt with a little depression. So that wasn't, and I guess you could say, I can say for a fact that it's not that I like to keep things to myself. That is like a part of it, but I don't like to, in a sense, feel like I'm putting my problems on other people.
Right.
So when I got something going on, I try to find every way possible I can figure it out on my own. And it took some time to realize that I ended up figuring it out sometimes, but you're just going to go right back to where you started. So you need help. You need people in your life to support you. You need people that you can go to. Like, even if they don't know that you're that person for them, you should know.
Right.
Even if it's hey, can we FaceTime? Talk about whatever. They may not know what you're going through, but if you can vent to them and you feel comfortable, you need that in your life. And that's something I didn't realize I needed until a couple years ago. And that helped me a lot, especially with the baseball thing. It made me not take every pitch so heavy. It made me not take every game so heavy. Like, well, we're going to have bad games. We're going to have bad days. We're going to have good days. We're going to have good games. We're going to have in between. So but at the end of the day, you want to try to stay consistent as possible. And you want to stay as consistent as possible. And you also got to just realize that the bad times you had aren't going to last forever. Bad games you had aren't going to last forever. So that mold of just realizing, okay, I can get through this, and I don't have to get through this on my own. People do love you, whether you know it or not. People love you. People care for you. If you reach out, someone's probably gonna give you a hand. Like, I don't think people realize that enough. They think that, if I come out with my problems, they're gonna think I'm weak, or they're gonna think I'm, beneath them, or whatever. And that's not the case. I think, especially as men, and especially as a black male too, showing your emotions and voicing your emotions is a lot stronger than hiding them, because you're comfortable enough to talk to whoever about it. So I don't want to say you're almost a little standoffish if you don't want to. It comes off as, that macho, ooh, I can figure out everything on my own, in a sense. Well, if it takes a village, right? That saying. So you can't do everything on your own, but yeah.
Right. I'm gonna double check this camera. We're gonna air the whole thing full. I don't mind getting up during that. Cool. Those things, they only last 30 minutes. Trick of the trade, everybody. 30-minute cameras there for recording time.
Smart.
With that said, though, so I can tell you've really spent some time thinking it. You've gone through it. As you continue to climb the ranks, and let's say you're called up to the big leagues, Arizona Diamondbacks or whoever, because it is a business, things can change, whatever. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you plan on being a big platform that you want to share with people, is, making sure everybody's getting their mental health checked on, communicating with people? Like a guy that I know that does a lot of that right now is Marcus Stroman. He seems to be kind of the poster child of that in the big leagues, and sharing his message, writing kids' books about it, things like that. Is that in your plans, especially if you do kind of get that platform?
100%. Because I've always been kind of someone that, in a sense, likes to try and take care of other people before I take care of myself. So over the past years, I've gotten better at that, allowing myself to figure out what I like, what I don't like, what works for me, so that, I know what makes me happy, I know what makes me upset. So then I'm the best person I can be, so then I can be the best person for everyone else. But that's going to be huge if that's the case. I mean, that's one of the reasons I try to post something on my story every day. Mm-hmm. Just that mental side, because especially on social media, you don't see that a lot. Right. It's not very common. People, I don't want to say that everyone does this, but social media in a sense is like, you want people to want to have your lifestyle. People want to look good. They want to look a certain type of way, and they post that because they want other people to want to be them. And there's a lot of comparison now. And a big quote I like is, comparison is a thief of joy. Right. Like, nothing comes good out of comparing each other. You gotta want to be your own self. You gotta want to be your own person. You gotta want to do things your own way, but also, thinking about others, not selfishly. You want to do things for yourself, but not selfishly. Right. But that's also a big thing, because people come to watch us play, and whether or not they may know it, they may not, but they come to watch us play as a form of therapy. Right. Get their mind off things, do things like that. And we give that to them as well. But another thing too is, a lot of athletes struggle with that, is they're so focused on putting on a face, putting on this image, trying to go out and be amazing, don't want to look bad, that they forget to take care of themselves. And I think that's, one thing besides the overall mental health is like athletic mental health. You know, we're looked at as, oh, we're baseball players, we're football players, we're soccer players, you know, we're this, that, and the other. You know, we're the caregivers, you know, we take care of our families, we do all this, but they don't realize we struggle just as much as other people. So that's along with just, you know, wanting to make sure people have a smile on their face. I think, you know, realizing you got to take care of your athletes as well. You know, we go through a lot and we try to hide it for everyone else. And that's what I try to do for a long time. And then once I stop doing that and just realize, hey, just be yourself. Well, if you're having a bad day, it's all right to have a bad day.
Right.
Like, it's all right for your teammates to know you're not doing all right that day. But don't give that energy off to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm in a bad mood, don't give my bad mood to them.
Right.
They can know you're not having a good day, but don't be like, hey, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, but overall, that's going to be huge for me. Mental health is something I've always been big on, and it just kind of, you know, battling the things that I've battled in my own head, watching, you know, family members battle with the same type of deal. It's tough, and you don't want to see anyone go through that. Yeah. And so if I can help put a smile on anyone's face or make them think that, you know, this day isn't that bad. You know, I got a lot of good days coming ahead of me. That's what I want to do.
I want to go back quickly, the social media stuff you said. I think we're definitely all guilty of that at times, where it's, oh, look at me, I did this cool thing, I'm at this cool place, or, you know, you see it a lot with influencers. They might go rent a Lamborghini and, oh, look at me, I got this Lambo. And, you know, that's just the culture in a lot of different things, sports especially. There's a lot of that too. So I think that's, you know, an important topic. So you talked about how you try to post every day and you kind of want to share that message with people. Is that just something that you just do and you let whoever sees it kind of be impacted, or are you talking to others about that? Are you telling your teammates, like, yeah, like, you know, I want to check up on you, here's some things that I see on social that like bring me kind of in a good mental state, or is it more on your own right now?
It's mostly been on my own. I think one thing is I want to say I started doing this around a year ago, is posting pretty frequently. I'm more into it now. It's like I try to do it every day. But I think it was more at first it was like, okay, this is a reminder to myself. You know, I post on my story and then I go look at it and read it. And then it turned into, okay, I feel like other people should read this. You know, not enough people are, whether or not they're sending that to you personally or even posting on their story, not a lot of people are just reading that in general.
Right.
You know, because even though I may not, there's certain people obviously I know better than others, but if I post that and you read it, in a sense it feels like I'm saying it to you.
Right.
I may not have talked to you in a long time, but in a sense it feels like, okay, he may not be thinking about me, but he's, you know, thinking about me in a sense, like making sure everyone's okay. And so I just kept doing that, kept posting. People would like it and be like, okay, people like it, that's nice. Then people would message me saying, hey, I needed this today.
Right.
People would message me like, hey, I enjoy the fact that you post these frequently. You know, it makes me happy. Not a lot of people do that. That's all I needed.
Right.
You know, it wasn't necessarily that I was searching for that kind of like, oh, I hope people like this. Like, I don't want to feel dumb or whatever it may be. But that little tiny sense of validation, like, okay, people are taking from this and they're not just swiping through. It made me like dig deep into that. It made me want to keep doing it. And so, I mean, I like to see people happy. So, I mean, I don't need anything out of it except the fact that I want it to impact someone else in a positive way. And there's not a lot of people that out here that do things that don't do things for themselves.
Right.
So, and I mean, I try to just, I want to be that open arm to anyone. We may not be super close, but sometimes that's the best. Someone that's not super close, you can tell whatever you want to them.
Right.
And they'll just listen. They'll be like, okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you need that person that knows you really well to give you your advice that you can't tell yourself or don't know how to tell yourself or don't know how to do.
Right.
So there's levels to everything, and there's different sides to everything. It's just how you approach it, how you attack it. And the way I'm choosing to attack it right now is by posting it on my Instagram stories. Just so that, if you follow me or if you don't follow me, you can see it whenever you want.
A phrase that I hear a lot that I kind of live by that kind of doubles down on that is, if you change someone's life, it'll change your life. Like, that's kind of, I think, one of the best experiences as humans here is our job is to help impact others' lives in any way. And like I said, if you post something and it helps one person that's going through a dark day, or you make a phone call when you're on a road trip, like you're driving back to Amarillo and you call someone you haven't talked to in a year and they're like, man, it was really great to hear from you. Like, I've been doing this. That's what it's all about, and that's some of the cool things. Sticking with mental health, we've been talking more off the field. On the field, I feel like that's going to probably have been a big adjustment for you since college. Do you have like a mental health coach that you go to for that? Do you guys have it with the Diamondbacks, or kind of on your own that you like to go to?
So, one of the things I love about this organization is they have a mental performance team. So they honestly, that was one of the biggest impacts. Like, realizing that they cared about our mental health kind of blew my mind, because I never really heard of that.
Right, it's not part of the culture.
It's not part of the culture. You don't, they tell you in college all the time, hey, if you need to talk to someone, we have people for you, but you don't ever really see their face. You got to go through layers to get to them. Here, their office is right outside of our clubhouse, and we can walk in whenever we want. So there's always during spring training, there's a mental performance session. So you go in there, and it's like, you basically kind of meditate, but your mind is there. Right. You're focused. You're trying to get ready for the day. It's like a little reset to get you locked in. And that has played a huge part. It helps tremendously. A lot of guys in there do it. It's not something that you might have to do every day, but we do that pretty frequently, and that's something that they take pride in. And the great thing about it is the people that we do have is they love to help. That's one thing I've noticed about the three that have worked with, that I've been able to work with for the past, 2.5 years now, is that they care about you more than you realize. They care about you.
Right.
And that's, like what I was saying earlier, that's something you need. Like, even though I may not know them as well as I know certain other people, but I know for a fact I can go in there whenever I want and talk to them about anything. And I know it would stay between us, and I know they would have good things to say. They would have advice, or they would just listen if they needed to. And so I think that helps a lot, especially in our sport that's result-based.
Right.
Like, I can go out and throw 5 innings, give up no runs, let's say 4 strikeouts, but every out I got is hit hard. Like, in my mind, like on paper, it looks like I did really well. In my mind, I'm worried.
Right.
I can't miss a barrel. Guys are smacking me. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Vice versa, you can throw 5 innings, give up 7 runs, not a single ball hit over 80 miles per hour. You're like, what's going on?
Right.
I don't know. Well, everything's like, hey, everything's working. Well, I can't tell that because I'm getting, they may be hit 80 miles per hour, but they're falling. I just gave up 8 runs.
Right.
So that's something where, you go in there and they help you kind of rewire your brain too, to think about things outside of baseball, to be able to also in that moment to be able to reset. Like, okay, like it's time to go. Like, okay,
right,
bases loaded, whatever the situation may be. I've done this before. I don't need to get riled up, and that helps a lot in this sport.
Yeah. Is there a particular thing they've taught you there? Because like you said, I mean, obviously, I mean, I didn't play in college because I was hurt, but similar, whatever I was going with that. Anyways, like you said, there could be times where you might throw 15 fastballs over the heart of the plate and you give up no runs in 7 innings, and like results based, you're like, oh, that's awesome. On paper, it's awesome. But like you said, in your head, it's, well, that sucked. Or same thing, you could hit the corner every single time, be painting the black all day, changing eye levels, everything, and you give up 7 runs in 3 innings. So obviously the conversations are something that helps. Is there something in particular they've taught you besides, you know, yourself taking a deep breath and just really resetting on the mound? And I'm going to check this while you talk.
Okay. I would say not necessarily anything, because we're very big on breath. Mm-hmm. Like that's how you reset.
Right.
You know, you don't realize it, but when you're stressed out and you're doing something that takes a lot of your mental capacity, you forget to breathe. You forget to release that tension that you've been building up for however long it's been.
Right.
And so one thing that we do when we do those mental performance things as every day is it's working on your breath, realizing how to focus that. Okay, my mind's wandering. Okay, all right, I'm back to where I need to be.
Right.
Just kind of centers you, it grounds you, and it works. And I think that it's an amazing tool because it works in every aspect of life. It doesn't just work on the baseball field. It works when you're frustrated on the road. Yeah. It works when, you know, you may not be getting the service you want to get at a restaurant, and you want to get mad at someone, you know, it may not be their fault, but you still want to get mad. Okay, reset. All right, patience.
Yeah.
Okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it was. Okay, time to attack this day. You know, so it's just, I think that I've taken huge from, because I can do it everywhere. I can do it in any situation.
It's career changing. I've heard that a lot, even in life. Like I've learned recently, I've always known deep breaths, and what I've learned is I kind of grew up mouth breathing a lot, which would kind of cause chaos. I've learned to really, when I say I get cut off in traffic, I'm not an angry driver usually, but I do consciously sit there and be like, okay, in and out the nose, and just kind of reset. Something I do, it's a little tick almost. I kind of like pull, like whatever that thought is. I literally go do this with my hand and I'll pull it away from myself. Everybody has their own ways of dealing with it when you're conscious of it. So it's cool that that's a team-wide thing, because I've been hearing that from a lot of individual big leaguers that I've seen changes. A guy like Corbin Burns struggled in the minor leagues and got the right mental performance coach, and boom, next thing you know, he cracks the big leagues, is now a top, arguably 3 pitcher in baseball, and that's all that changed. Nothing with his, you know, throwing motion, nothing with the way he pitched, nothing with his movement speed. It was all up here, learning breath work, learning that stuff. So I think that is a blessing. You guys get to have that as a team, and that you can take advantage of that. So when that's there, it's not necessarily a required thing. So you kind of go when you feel like you need it.
Yeah, it's on your own. And so during spring training, it's something that we have every morning.
Okay.
And then we'll also do like little mental performance groups. So we'll get in a group, 15 guys, you know, there's a lot of guys here, so it's just 15 at the time, and then we'll just talk. Or we'll have, right before we go to throw, we'll have like what we call a mental minute. So they'll challenge you a little bit right before you go throw. Give you a little story, give you some background, make you think about something, be like, okay, all right, let's get after it today. So it's not something that's forced upon you. It's something that they let you do on your own. But the great thing about it is it's not something that's just during spring training. They will fly out to our affiliates throughout the year. So we see them probably a good 50% of the time throughout the year. So it's, you know, you get to have them come out, and if you need it, you know, reset. But another thing that they do that's awesome is they created their own book. So there's about, it's probably a little over 75 pages, maybe a little more. Okay. I don't want to say no more than 100, but just pages upon pages of mental performance. Things to help you reset, things to help you challenge yourselves, things to help you relieve stress. And then they've also got QR codes so you can do your own mental performance. They'll talk to you virtually, so you can sit there with your headphones in, you know, close your eyes, get your breath done, close your eyes, meditate, whatever you need to do for that particular day. So that's also awesome. So when they're not there with you, they still kind of are in a sense. So I think that's huge.
Are you a big routine guy? Like when you're pitching, is it pretty much the same thing every time you're getting set, or not really?
I don't know. I would like to say this. I'm not a big routine guy, but I'm not big. It's like huge superstition, but
okay.
There's certain things that, because my superstitions change every year.
Got it.
Is weird.
Okay.
So if I have a good outing and I did 2 or 3 things that day, I'll continue to do those 2 or 3 things the whole year.
Got it.
Now I may, like, let's say if I have 10 things I need to do before a start, I'll keep those 2 or 3 things. The other 7 can change week by week.
Okay.
I may not do all 10 of them. I may just do those 2 or 3. I may do all 10 of them next week. I may only do 5 of them. But those 2 or 3 core things that I feel like help me, I'm going to do every single week. And then at the end of the season, flush it all away and come back with something else.
Any of those things you do that maybe isn't seen a lot from guys, where like someone might come up to you in the clubhouse and be like, what are you doing, dude? Like, what is that?
I'm trying to think.
Or is it all pretty straightforward?
I wouldn't say it's, okay, one thing I do that it's not necessarily weird. Well, it is kind of weird, but someone's asked me what I've done before, but in between innings, I have to drink, it's going to sound so weird. I take 3 sips of an energy drink before 2 outs. Then I kill a water before 3 outs. And then I chew a new piece of gum before every inning.
Okay.
That's something I've done for the past 2 years.
What's the go-to energy drink?
It was a Bang, and then I had to switch that. It's usually Gatorade. They have the fast twitch things.
Right. They got the
pretty
ones with
solid.
caffeine now.
Yeah.
A little more
like
hydrating
those.
than Bangs.
Yes.
I used to drink Bangs all the time. There's so much caffeine. They're really tasty, though.
They are.
They are really tasty.
We could get in trouble by them if we got to do it. So.
Right, I got you. Yeah. I guess just a little bit of baseball I wanted to touch on, too. What's it been like? I mean, this is your first full spring training, right? Because it was
second.
COVID year, second. And then last year there was a lockup, but you still got
Oh, well, yeah, I guess. When you
full,
talk about
like,
the lockup, yeah.
Yeah. What was it like, kind of, with all the pitching coaches and things like that? Like, what's really stood out to you this year? Like, anything new you've learned, or just processes, or is it just more, reaffirming things you already were kind of focused on anyways?
Big thing is, for me, pitch shape.
Okay.
One thing in college, we didn't have TrackMan. They do now at Fresno. Thanks, coach. But no, they do now at Fresno, so that's huge for them. That made me happy to know that some of my teammates are getting to use that. But the big thing is pitch shape, realizing how my pitches play off of each other. What works, what doesn't, what type of movement works, what counts, what type of movement works off of each other, things like that. And I mean, one thing is all the pitching coaches have just kind of helped me out with that. Mm-hmm. They help. I mean, they keep my confidence, because they tell me things work, and they're straight up when they tell me that they don't like that, which I respect and I want. I don't want you to tell me everything's good all the time when it's not. Or just tell me, hey, that could be better. But I mean, the pitching staff is awesome. I love all the coaches. I mean, our pitching coach last year, Jeff Bajanero, I think changed my career. So he's in AAA now. But
maybe reunited.
Yeah, hopefully soon. But I mean, it was pretty amazing, because we had a pitching coach, but he was pretty new at what he was doing, so he was kind of figuring out the ropes while I was there. So to have someone that, is kind of solidified, and have multiple people that are solidified, helped a lot.
What goals do you have this year? I know we talked a little bit about, you can't always focus on the results, because you could have a great AA season, maybe you get called up AAA, and your ERA could be 5-something, but there's something they're seeing. So for you, do you have any performance goals or just goals in general for this year coming up? Do you pay attention to the numbers at all?
I've always tried not to. That's when it always comes to bite me.
Right.
Is when I do. I mean, that's going to sound cliche, but I mean, my biggest goal is literally just to stay consistent. Because I know at my peak, I'm good. Yeah. I can pitch in the big leagues, but it's just, can I keep that peak? Can I keep my bottom as close to the peak? So even when I'm down here, it's still really good.
Yeah.
And when I'm really good, it's better than everyone else. So that's my biggest thing.
Well, that's what separates the best from good. I mean, there's plenty of guys that can do it at their best. I mean, heck, here at Salt River, Wally, he was a AAA pitcher for a long time, and we took batting practice after the final Rockies game, and he was carving me up. I challenged him. I was like, I can get some live at bats. You're like 32 now. No, so he had that. Like the way he explained it to me, he had the peak, but he never quite was consistent enough to get to where he wanted to go, and that's why ultimately wasn't able to crack the big leagues. So you're realizing that that's going to be the difference for you.
Yeah.
You've seen the potential. I mean, last year you had, a 13K game that I know that's pinned on your Instagram. I mean, that shows you electricity. You don't see a lot of those in minor league games just with pitch counts and things like that today. So you have it there, but now you really just want to focus on how do I do it consistently.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I like to say, flashes is what keeps guys around.
Right.
You flash them something, okay, we think he's got this. That'll keep you around a little longer. But consistency is what gets you moved up. It's the end-all, be-all, especially in this sport where you got to play every day. Well, as a position player, you got to play every day. As a pitcher, you're going to throw, if you're a starter, you're going to have 30 to 35 starts. It's a lot of innings. As a reliever, you might come in 30, 35 times. It's a lot of appearances. It's not how good are your good ones or how great are your great ones. It's how bad are your bad ones. Are your bad games okay? All right, good.
Yeah.
Are your bad games bad? All right, then we got to fix something. Are your bad games? Yeah. All right. Yeah, you can work with that. You like I said, you want that gap to be tiny. Okay, this is my peak. Well, this is my bottom. This is my peak. This is my bottom. That's not where you want to be. You want to raise that as close as possible. That's what separates big leaguers. It's the guys that can day in, day out do it consistently. And when you see, especially when you see your teammates too, you see the guys that, get moved up, or the guys that, their work ethic or how they carry themselves, on and off the field throughout a whole season. And you're like, okay, that's how we built that body of work. Like you understand those things, you see those things, and you take away and you pull, and you just make them your own. You work on them yourselves, and so that's what I've been trying to do. It's just, how can I just stay consistent as possible? Yeah. Show up to the field every day, be the same human being, be the same guy, and have that trust in my teammates. Like, oh, he's going to go out there and give us 6. Right. All right, we're good.
And that just comes from controlling the controllables. Because I know we're probably hammering it down at this point, but again, there could be days painting the black, they're hitting the crap out of you. You can't control that. And then there's days where you don't have it, and for some reason you're like, oh, I'm 7 innings in and I've given up 2 hits, and they're just bloopers. Like it happens. So there's that. One of the final things I want to touch on, and I don't know the full background, but your step-grandpa is Gary Templeton, right? Mm-hmm. Close to them, you learn a lot from him growing up about the big leagues?
Yeah. I would say I never, it's funny because I'm not a big, I ask people questions. I like to listen.
Okay.
So I just loved hearing all his stories about guys. But I think the biggest thing that he told me that kind of was like, okay, was right after I signed. He said, hey, you just got to believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself that you're better than everyone or you're just as good as everyone, you're going to be fine. Because there's going to be, guys behind you and guys in front of you that got paid a lot more than you. Mm-hmm. Now, their organization might think they're better than you, but you can't think they're better than you.
Right.
And I took that and I ran with it. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. I think I like to think I'm the best person on the field at all times. So, I mean, that just, and it's not, I don't like it to be cocky. I don't necessarily think it is. I think it's just like a humble confidence. You know, I'm not going to go around saying, oh my God, I'm better than you.
Right.
Like, no, that just isn't who I am. That's tough. But the way I carry myself, you're going to see it in the way I pitch, how I walk off the mound. You know, I want to win. You know, how I pick up my teammates, all the little things, being a good teammate, things like that. So that was the one thing. I mean, when he told me that, I was like, okay, yeah. You can't be scared, because I mean, now we're literally, everyone here is fighting for the same thing. Yeah. And wants to do the same thing. So.
And it's a balance too, because you guys get close in the clubhouse, but at the same time, okay, if there's starting rotation, you guys are all trying to get to AAA this year, and then you're all trying to get to the big league. So there's that competition where I'm assuming you guys are rooting for each other's success, but you're also like, there probably could be times of envy where it's, well, I feel like I've been pitching better than him, but he just got called up because he was drafted higher or he's throwing harder than me.
Yeah.
You've experienced some of that, huh?
Yeah, I try not to think about it like that.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I've always thought is, especially in our job where, you're fighting for the same spot, you're doing all these things, is it's okay to be jealous. Like, that's fine. Like, you must not love what you're doing if you're not jealous that someone else is doing what you want to do. Right? But it can't be in a form of hatred. It can't be in a form of animosity. You can't want that person to do bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's gotta, like, it's okay to be like, dang, I wish that was me. Or, dang, I thought I did pretty good this month. Or, I thought I had a pretty good week. And gotta get better. Like, that's how you should think. Okay, I have to get better. Whatever he did is what he did. It has nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. I gotta be better at what I'm doing. So that's how I always looked at it, is I never try to, I never try to be the GM.
Right.
I just try to, focus on myself. If they think he's better than me, then I got to prove to them that I'm better than him. That's all it is. Good for him. I want everyone to make it. I just want to make it before you.
Right.
Or eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how I look at it.
Last thing I got to, I could tell you very much trying to live in the now, and you're really just focused on the grind and the hustle. Have you had thoughts about what it would feel like when you eventually get to make your first trip to the mound on a big league mound in a regular season game? Is that something you've, thought about as you've gotten closer and closer, or is that more something you thought about when you were younger and hasn't been a focus primarily right now?
I would say it's a mixture of both. I don't necessarily think about it. I try not to. Mm-hmm. Like, when that day comes, if it comes, then I'm just going to let it come to me. But at the same time, I try to visualize it. Mm-hmm. I want to put myself in that situation, because that's, at the end of the day, that's where I want to be. Mm-hmm. I want to visualize myself getting there. I want to visualize myself being there and dominating there and staying there. And so I also think that ties in the mental part of things is you visualize something, it's going to go in your favor most of the time. You visualize negative things are going to happen. You visualize positive things are most likely going to happen. If you stick to it, at least, if you don't give up on what you've been thinking about. So I think that's something I do. I try not to, but I mean, it is a dream at the end of the day. Like, that's what I want to do. So, but I turn it into a way of, okay, I'm not like, I don't know how to put this. I'm just, okay, this is where I want to be. I'm visualizing myself 5 years in the league. Okay, this is how I got there. Yeah. This is where I want to be. How am I going to get there now? Yeah. So you visualize the path, the how comes. The way you think it was going to happen usually isn't the way it ends up happening. Like, the way I've learned just in life is a lot of times I write things down. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily New Year's resolutions, because I don't typically do it around then, but I'll write things down, notebooks away. It's not out all the time. And all of a sudden, I'll look back a year or 2 years later and look back and I'm like, oh, I said I was going to do this, did it. I was going to do this, yep, it's happening right now. I was going to do this, okay, look it. I just deviated from that path that wasn't part of the plan right now. I'll write it down again and see.
that's something. So I think the power of visualizing that is something that is important. And, you know, a lot of guys, they figure that out later on. Sometimes you can kind of, I'm not going to say you end up in the big leagues by accident. I'm not saying anyone's ever ended up in the big leagues by accident, but they kind of get there without that realization. And I think right now, from what I can tell, you kind of have the realization of the mental side of getting there already, that when you do get there, it's almost going to feel like, yeah, I created this.
Yeah.
Like, I earned it. I belong. You're not going to have imposter syndrome at that point. Maybe you will a little bit, but mentally you'll have been like, okay, I've been visualizing this for a long time and working to make it happen.
Yep. It's the plan.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, man.
It's been great, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yes,
Amarillo sod poodles, if you're ever out there, catch Jamison Hill on the mound. Maybe Reno this year. We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. You never know.
Day at a time. Just going to, 1% better every day. Try to do.
Perfect way to end it. Thank you.
Appreciate you.